This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on our podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. We're going to dive right in. We got a lot to do tonight. I've had people to talk to me about, they said, listen, I need to understand this whole dynamic of what happened to us about this whole government shutdown on Obamacare. They were telling us one thing, but guys, it was totally something else. Now, you know, I'm a proponent of talking about facts. So I do a lot of research. I don't look at the news. I dig. I use logic, deductive reasoning, and I have discernment. And if you just look at, I understand systemic operations, organizational type things, but the facts are out there, but they don't talk about it on the news. So why am I going to waste my time listening to what they say? Because we've got our flag behind us. We got a lot going on in our country. We need to remember to pray for our country. Our flag reminds us of that symbolically. We've got our presidential seal. President Trump has fought hard for this nation this year. And we're closing up this year. So we want to continue to pray for him, President Trump, his family, his cabinet, their families, the leadership of this country, everybody on Capitol Hill. And we're praying that the ones that are bucking and acting ridiculous, that they will have a come to Jesus moment, that they'll get a revelation that they need to. I just never seen it. When I was growing up, people would just kind of cooperate with the president. They just would kind of cooperate with the president. And that changed when Trump showed up. And you can't tell me it was because he was so crazy. It's because he found out. Guys, they have been found out. Now, we're going to dissect that tonight. It's going to kind of you're going to get understanding. And one of my dear friends, Sandra Singleton, she said, can you break down that Obamacare thing for us? Yes, I can. And that's what I'm going to do tonight. Because wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, but in all that wisdom get understanding. We need to understand what they did to us. It kind of blew me away when I brought it all together, and I was like, there it is. Let's keep going. So we've got new leadership. It's been a tumultuous year. It's been intense. There was a lot at stake, but a lot has happened, and we're going to be covering that about all 20 of President Trump's promises that he made. We're going to dissect that coming up later this month, because when I saw it, I was like, wow. Just wow. I can see why the enemy of our souls has lied to us so much. It's amazing. It's amazing. So tonight we're going to examine something that's generated a lot of discussion, the franticness of fraud. See, the fraud is so deep and so pervasive that it just was frantic. So that's the title that I heard inside of me, the franticness of fraud. And all this ties in with our clinical perspective. Accountability matters. Oh, yeah. Guys, we're dealing with dynamics in our nation that it was just totally out of control, all centered around Obamacare or the ACA. It was a driving presentation around that government shutdown. Now, we're going to be dealing with those kind of things again. They're going to try to hold us hostage. Let's frame some things for purposes of understanding. Now, I got to frame it. You know how anybody that's been looking at my podcast, you kind of know how I operate. You got to frame it to understand. Here's the framework. In Butler County, Iowa, Senator Chuck Grassley. Now, he don't play. No, Chuck Grassley doesn't play. He's one of those ones that digs and demands accountability. And let's just go on this journey here. Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican of Iowa, he's a senior member and former chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. He pays attention to the money. He's renewing calls for accountability after receiving information that builds on things that we need to know more about. Independent reports of widespread Obamacare fraud were rampant. In 2024, taxpayers reportedly footed the bill for approximately $20 billion in improper Obamacare subsidies. See, this whole government shutdown was over. We want $1.5 trillion from the taxpayers to put back in mandatory spending, which had been taken out under President Trump. Under that big, beautiful bill, they want it put back in to pay for the Obamacare subsidies. Put your seatbelts on. You get ready to get informed. This number was greatly working towards exceeding $27 billion this year in 2025. Now, based on information that is well known, if you know where to go look, Senator Grassley's office, this is what he said: insurance agents were using targeted internet advertisements to fraudulently enroll consumers with false income verification extension requests. Hold on, keep going with me. We're going somewhere, and it is expecting us when we get there. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Last year, he pushed for answers from the top leaders in the Biden administration regarding their efforts to eliminate waste, fraud, that finance committee. They wanted to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in the ACA marketplace, Obamacare. The Biden administration failed to respond to any request. They ignored it. They overrode laws. They had no accountability whatsoever. And we were headed to implosion. The way this Obamacare thing was being set up, guys, there's no way we could last. The Biden administration's failure to adequately oversee these subsidies has had expensive consequences. The Wall Street Journal reported that in 2024, 5 million customers had inappropriately, this is what all the evidence pointed to, had inappropriately received health insurance coverage through subsidized, the Affordable Care Act, the Subsidized Affordable Care Act, ACA, Obamacare. Federal marketplace plans based on falsified income information was what was going on, which may have cost us an estimated $20 billion, guys. Now, here's the background. Stick with me. In 2021, the Biden administration increased premium tax credits for higher income earners and reduced cost sharing through 2025. As a result of that dynamic of what they did, individuals whose incomes were within 100 to 150% of the federal poverty level, the FPL, federal poverty level, were eligible for fully subsidized health insurance plans. This policy change was comprised of a lot of dynamics, and what it did, it compromised the program's integrity, particularly in states that had not expanded Medicaid. Now, the federal poverty level, that's a measure of income used to determine eligibility for certain programs. With the 2025 guidelines for the states that looked at that as their measure, was 48 states, that's what they used. The starting annual income to be at the poverty level was $15,650 for one person household. And it increased with family size. The FPL is adjusted annually for inflation and is used for things like health insurance, subsidies, and Medicaid. Now, the FPL is used to determine eligibility for government assistance programs like Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP, and marketplace subsidies for health insurance, Obamacare. Now, we're framing this. Listen to this. A one-person household, $15,650. That's poverty level. Two-person household, $21,150. 3-person household, $26,650. 4-person household, $32,150. And a 5-person household, $37,650. That's considered the poverty level. Now, according to CMS, Center for Medicaid Services, Medicaid and Medicare Services, and other reportings, agencies, see, they keep track of all this data. Guys, listen. Fraudulent enrollments, this is talking about the franticness of fraud. Fraudulent enrollments occurred because insurance agencies and agencies and brokers exploited vulnerabilities in the ACA design. The design was jacked up. It was imploding. It can't last as it is. President Trump is talking about sending money directly to people so they can get their own policies. There's no way we can support this thing. Grassley cited the Trump Departments of Justice, DOJ. There was a February 19th indictment of 2 people, Corey Lloyd and Stephen Strong. What did they do? They were engaged in a $161 million ACA, Affordable Care Act, enrollment fraud scheme. The Trump administration was applauded for program integrity measures through the Marketplace Integrity and Affordability Rule. The One Big Beautiful Bill also established some additional premium tax credit program integrity measures. Do y'all remember, y'all know Dr. Oz? He's the administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS. He's the administrator, Dr. Oz. He reported, this is what Dr. Oz has reported, that on June 20th of 2024, last year, the Wall Street Journal reported that in 2024, 5 million consumers, this is what the Wall Street Journal said, 5 million consumers, based on everything they could see, had inappropriately received health care insurance coverage through the ACA. Obamacare, federal marketplace plans based on falsified income information, which cost us $20 billion coming out of my check, your check, everybody's check. According to CMS, the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services, as well as other reportings, those fraudulent enrollments occurred. Why? Because there were insurance agents and brokers exploiting the program's design. What subsequently happened? In July of 2024, CMS, now Biden was still in there. He was still in there. The Obama-Biden-Harris cabal. They were the ones pulling the strings still. On July 8th of 2024, CMS was contacted regarding concerns that came up regarding fraudulent enrollments and requesting information on how the Biden administration's Department of Health and Human Services and CMS had taken steps to combat fraud. In other words, guys, there's fraud, there's waste, there's abuse. What are y'all doing? They did not respond. The Obama-Biden-Harris cabal, it was Obamacare. Biden couldn't even put a sentence together, guys. And Kamala was off somewhere cackling. Supposed to be the border czar. We saw 14 million people come in 1 year. The Biden administration's failure to adequately oversee these subsidies has had expensive consequences. For instance, this year, February of this year, the Trump's Department of Justice indicted those two men, for what they did. 161 million of ACA fraud. It was a fraud scheme, getting people enrolled. According to the DOJ, Department of Justice, Lord and Strong targeted, this is what they did, guys, listen to this. They targeted vulnerable, low-income individuals experiencing homelessness, unemployment, and mental health and substance abuse disorders, and through street marketers working on their behalf, sometimes offered bribes to induce those individuals to enroll and subsidize ACA plans. Make it make sense. Who, what, when, where, how, and why. Stick with me. I did a lot of digging. Miss Singleton, Sandra, she's my good friend, my sister. But she asked me to do this, and a lot of it's going to help us understand why this thing was so jacked up, and what they were doing. Now, those two individuals, they use misleading sales scripts and other deceptive sales techniques to do what? To convince consumers to state that they would attempt to earn the minimum income necessary to qualify for a subsidized ACA plan. I can hear them right now with their deceptive leading questioning. They did this even when the consumer initially projected having no income whatsoever. Based on information provided, a similar type of fraud scheme was used within the ACA marketplace. This scheme involved targeted internet advertisement for free health insurance. These advertisements were used to entice consumers to fill out a web form with personal information, which was then used by insurance agents to sign consumers up for health care in targeted zip codes. Those zip codes were in states that used the federally facilitated marketplace, FFM, rather than the state-based exchanges, and where preferred insurance companies had $0 in premium plans. Who, what, when, where, how, why. The information that was on those web forms, guys, agents used they had 10 federally approved private sector ACA federal marketplace enrollment websites. And they used one of them in particular to sign the consumers up via that mode. They got people online reaching out, free health care. You know it got their attention. During open enrollment periods, agents entered hundreds of applications per day. And if the consumer noted on the web form that their income wasn't between 100 and 150% of the federal poverty level, agents would fraudulently swap it out for a number to obtain maximum ACA federal marketplace plan premium subsidies and special enrollment period eligibility. Guys, do you see this fraudulent scam? And they wanted us to pay more money for them to keep doing this mess. To keep fraudulent enrollments on the books for as long as possible, agents allegedly submitted false income verification extension requests and pre-populated income explanation forms rather than submitting actual proof of income. Guys, this information is out there. I had to dig, but boy, I did some research and put these dots together, and the picture was very clear. Democrats unloaded the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, also known as ACA. It was ACA, affordable. It's affordable care. Look, baby, affordable care was not affordable. It turned out to be not affordable. Obamacare turned out to be not affordable, and they're trying to get us to rescue it. And that $1.5 trillion, they are going to give that to insurance companies. It's a part of his cronies extending what he did, no different than the stimulus packet, no different than that COVID money. It's no different. So they were going to continue to perpetrate that upon the American people. And since all this is unfolded, the cost of health care and insurance has skyrocketed. There are really 5 basic reasons why Obamacare has been an utter failure. Number 1, it has increased the cost of health care and health insurance. The ACA's federal mandates and spending, including Medicaid expansion and subsidized individual plans, have drastically increased the cost of health care and health insurance. Another reason, Obamacare increases Americans' reliance on the federal government. Democrats are attempting to increase workers' reliance on the federal government. Socialism, guys, by moving them to exchange plans with higher deductibles. Who's going to pay for them? People couldn't even afford the deductibles. Higher deductibles, lower actuarial value, and narrower, very narrow networks. Who could provide care in the networks? This is the average, listen, what was that? That actual value. It's the average percentage of total health care costs that an insurance plan is expected to pay for a standard population. How much a plan covers versus how much the individual is responsible for through out-of-pocket costs like deductibles, co-payments, and co-insurance. On a per-person basis, Obamacare is far more expensive than anticipated for taxpayers. Employer-sponsored insurance provides better coverage and a better bargain for taxpayers compared to government-run healthcare programs. Here's another reason why it's a mess. Obamacare's expansion is due to a large part to improper Medicaid enrollments. Guys, I just explained how they fraudulently got people in there. In 2020, improper Medicaid payments totaled $86 billion. It was an increase of 21.4%. It's a mess. Most of these improper payments were due to eligibility errors. Anywhere from 2.3 million to 3.3 million people are on Medicaid, and they don't even qualify. They don't actually qualify, guys. This system has been so abused. Obamacare is one step closer to socialized health care. Democrats are chipping away at our free market healthcare system inch by inch. States have expanded Medicaid coverage for lawfully present. There's that term. Stop right there. That's how they were hijacking us. They were bringing those people, Miss Sandra Singleton, and my friends and my fellow Americans. They were paroling those people out of prison and bringing them in, saying it's a humanitarian. Millions of them, bringing them in here. And they just did a play on words, guys. They kept saying, they're not illegal immigrants. They were lawfully present. The ones that came out of the prison programs, the terminology that was used with their slick, deceptive ways was lawfully present. And they leveraged with the children. States expanded Medicaid coverage for lawfully present immigrants, children, and pregnant people. So get over here, get pregnant, have babies, have babies, have babies, have babies. And some have fully state-funded coverage for illegal immigrants. Guys, they didn't have to pay for it. Did that happen for Americans? for children and pregnant people, states can eliminate the 5-year waiting period for Medicaid and CHIP coverage. There was supposed to be a waiting period. Yeah, come on. No waiting for you guys. In January 2025, when President Trump was inaugurated and he started working on all this stuff, 37 states plus Washington, D.C. took up the option for children, and 31 states plus D.C. elected the option for pregnant individuals. Yeah, they did. Bring in the children and get pregnant was the thrust. They had 23 states plus Washington that provided prenatal care and pregnancy-related benefits to low-income children beginning from conception to end of pregnancy, regardless of their parents' citizenship or immigration status under the CHIP program. From conception to end of pregnancy option. Guys, they were taking care of these people. They didn't care about us as Americans. Some states, that it was fully funded for them. Fully funded. Research suggests that they do not take jobs away from U.S. born people. But what they did, they played a disproportionate role in filling jobs in essential industries, such as it was construction and agriculture. Construction and agriculture. And you had your Jasmine Crockett. You remember when she said, we might as well let these illegal immigrants do this work because slaves not picking cotton anymore. Boy, is she obnoxious, as evidenced by talking like that about anybody. So they're saying they weren't taking jobs, but guys, yes, they were. And you know how? They were paying them under the table. That's a whole other racket. That's a whole other podcast. Do you see how they, who, what, when, where, how, why? There was a focus to inundate the nation with Cuban, Haitian entrants. Those were the brown people. So they got this messaging they're doing with black Americans, the black and the brown. We got to stick together. And they got the hands of the black people. They got this image. I'm going to do a post about it, black hands. And then we got the brown surrounding. We got to stick together. We got to stick together. Baby, they don't, you black folk, they wasn't doing anything for you in terms of what they were doing for the brown folk, bringing them in, paroling them out of prison, and paying for their housing, their health care, their food, their education, their health care, a free child daycare for some of them, and a free monthly money card. Many were just paroled out of prison and brought right in. Guys, there was no accountability regarding the rigged system that was set up related to health care. All of this madness ties in with our clinical perspective. Why do we have to have accountability? It matters because it is fundamental for personal growth. It's fundamental for us to have a healthy country, which fosters strong relationships and improve performance in professional settings and in our personal life and in the functioning of this nation. By taking ownership of actions and decisions, individuals can learn from mistakes, build trust, and achieve success. Are we supposed to trust those in charge when they were doing this to us? In a workplace, accountability fosters a culture of ownership. Are they taking ownership of what they did to us? Boosting productivity. Y'all just keep working, cracking the whip harder on us as they were getting over on us like a fat rat, achieving their goals. And when they had these NGOs, these non-governmental organizations, guys, they put their relatives, their cronies in charge, and they were getting big fat salaries, and it was coming out of our paychecks. What are the benefits of accountability as we wrap this up? There's so much thought going on in my head. Accountability drives performance that is legitimate, not undermining the nation and under the table stuff. When individuals take responsibility for their work that's legitimate and it's on the books, they have a greater sense of ownership, which leads to better quality and higher job satisfaction. Organizations with an accountable culture, not under the table mess, are more likely to meet deadlines and achieve strategic goals. Guys, they had that operation going on down there in Georgia. Trump, they shut it down. They sent them people, they went back. Under the table stuff was going on. What would happen if we fostered growth? Owning our own mistakes. It's crucial. They made so many mistakes. Learning from them. By being accountable, we can identify areas for improvement in this nation and develop skills needed to succeed. What would happen if we built trust in relationships? Accountability creates that. Trust, where we need to have a government we can trust, but we can't trust them as it had been operating. What would happen if we encourage problem solving? Professional settings, in our own lives, teams, churches, focusing on solution-focused problem solving, we would be amazing as a nation. What would this do? Would we have increased confidence if we had us cohesively working like that? Maybe we would. What have we looked at tonight? The franticness of fraud. And our clinical perspective involved accountability matters. Guys, we were all over the place. Can you hear it? That was the inner workings of what they did to us with Obamacare, and they were trying to perpetrate it upon us again. And I won't be surprised at anything they do in 2026 as we're closing 2025 out. Listen, President Trump's not playing. He knows all this stuff. He would be throwing stuff out, and it would sound like he sound like a nut. They're emptying their prisons. Kamala Harris looked at him like he was a nut. He was telling the truth. And now we understand it all. And they were coming over here and getting all these benefits that we couldn't even get. Guys, listen, keep coming back. Keep coming back. We're going to keep dissecting these things because we need to know. Remember, we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, as we form a more perfect union, which simply means we're flowing together as one. And if we're flowing together as one, guys, we got to have accountability. This thing was a mess. They were out of control. The Obama, Biden, Harris cabal had this system of fraud on steroids, and it has been uncovered. We got smart Americans who can use basic logic and deductive reasoning, and we're going to inform our other Americans that we want to pull you out the mud, that you're not snatched around like a rag doll and believing the lies that they have told you. The best thing some of y'all can do is turn the news off. Oh yeah, they're lying to you. But we're going to keep my platform, and many others are going to lay out facts. That's what I'm committed to. Who, what, when, where, how, why. I understand my assignment. More and more, the older I get, I'm understanding it more and more, and it's developing and growing even more. But my heart is those children. My heart is the children. Somebody got to pay attention to the children. Yes. Listen, keep coming back as we continue to go from destruction. All this mess that was going on, very destructive. But we're going to keep going and exposing these things, educating, learning, being empowered with knowledge. Yes, power. Knowledge is power. So as we go from destruction to dignity, accountability brings dignity, clinical perspectives, order, a way of thinking, getting well, spiritual truths. God is a God of order, not one of confusion. And so we're going to keep pursuing this, and I will see you next week. Thank you for coming, and let's keep moving forward. We got a lot at stake, and we got a lot that's going to unfold. Put your seatbelt on. I'm in for the ride. Let's go. See you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are God empowered, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication.